The smell of burnt coffee and rain-soaked leather filled the diner, a combination Maya knew better than her own name. It was the scent of a Tuesday morning. Tuesdays were for the quiet ones, old-timers nursing a single cup and bikers who rumbled in on chrome beasts, taking the corner booth like a throne room. Today, the two worlds were about to collide. Maya watched from behind the counter, her hand frozen mid-wipe. Eleanor Vance, 84 years old and maybe 90 pounds, was on her feet. Her movements were a study in fragility, each step a careful negotiation with gravity. Her walker scraped softly against the worn linoleum as she left her table by the window and began a slow journey toward the corner booth. In that booth sat Grizz and his boys. For men built like refrigerators, draped in leather cuts bearing the insignia of the Serpent's Hand MC. They were a fortress of muscle and ink, and tiny Eleanor was walking straight toward them. The diner fell quiet. The air thinned. Grizz, the club president, was the first to notice her. His gaze lifted from a road-worn map. His eyes were chips of flint, hard and unreadable. He didn't move a muscle as Eleanor came to a stop beside their table. Eleanor's hand, a delicate thing of paper-thin skin, trembled as she reached into her tweed handbag. She pulled out a single lavender envelope and placed it gently next to Grizz's coffee mug. "For you," she whispered. Her voice was like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Grizz didn't look at the letter, his eyes were locked on her face. He saw the faint yellowing bruise high on her cheekbone and the tremor in her lip. "What is it?" His voice was gravel. Eleanor took a shaky breath, flicking a hunted look toward the entrance. "Read it after I'm gone," she said. She turned and shuffled away. A man in a crisp polo shirt stood up from a booth near the door, his smile tight. He took her arm, his grip a little too firm, and guided her out into the grey morning. The bell above the door gave a single mournful jingle. Silence descended, heavier this time. The four bikers stared at the lavender envelope. It looked impossibly small amongst their heavy mugs. From behind the counter, Maya watched, her breath caught in her throat. She had seen Eleanor every Tuesday for 2 years. But for the last 3 months, things had changed. The man in the polo shirt, Marcus, had started bringing her. He'd order for her, speaking over her as if she weren't there. Maya had noticed the faded bruises peeking from beneath Eleanor's long sleeves and the way she flinched when Marcus moved too quickly. Maya had told herself it was none of her business, but seeing that small, brave act changed something. It was a flare shot up in the dark. Grizz stared at the letter. What did "after I'm gone" mean? This wasn't a noise complaint. He picked up the envelope and slid it into the inner pocket of his leather vest. "Let's ride," he grunted. They moved out of the diner with quiet intensity. Maya walked over to the corner booth, her hands trembling as she cleared the plates. She had a terrible feeling she had just witnessed the beginning of something, or maybe the end. The Serpent's Hand rode out of town. Grizz led the pack, the wind whipping at his beard. The lavender envelope felt heavier than a block of lead. He'd seen fear in his life, but the fear in that old woman's eyes was different, the soul-deep terror of the caged. They pulled over at a scenic overlook. Grizz pulled off his gloves and carefully retrieved the envelope. His instincts told him gone meant something permanent. "She looks scared, Grizz," said Bear, the club sergeant-at-arms. Grizz nodded. He made a decision. With a deliberateness that silenced any comment, he tore the envelope open. The handwriting was shaky, an elegant cursive marred by a tremor. To the gentleman in the corner booth, the letter began. "My name is Eleanor Vance. I am writing this because I am out of time. My nephew Marcus has taken my home, my savings, and my freedom. He keeps me locked in my room. I believe he is poisoning me slowly so that when I sign over the last of my assets, no one will question it. Today, he is taking me to the lawyer's office to sign the final papers. He told me that after today, I won't be needing to go out anymore. I know what that means. I am not asking you to save me. I am asking for justice. Taped to the bottom of the page was a small silver key. Inside the envelope, she explained it was for a storage locker containing a journal and a recorder. Her house was 142, Primrose Lane. Grizz finished reading, a cold fury solidifying in his chest. This wasn't a plea for help, it was a dead woman's testimony. That son of a, Ripper snarled. Grizz looked at his men. Their code was absolute: you protect the vulnerable. Bear, you and Ripper head to that storage unit. Spike, you're with me. We're going to Primrose Lane. Grizz swung his leg over his bike. Justice was coming. Number 142 was a small brick house that looked peaceful. They found the spare key in a ceramic gnome. Grizz inserted the key, and the door swung open onto a dark hallway. They stood in the entryway listening. Then they heard a man's voice, smooth and condescending, followed by a weak sob. The door to a study was ajar. Marcus was leaning over an oak desk where Eleanor was slumped in a wheelchair, a pen clutched in her frail hand. One last signature, Auntie, Marcus said. Eleanor was shaking her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. No more. Marcus's voice hardened. He grabbed her hand, forcing the pen toward the paper. Just sign it. That's when Grizz pushed the door open. Marcus froze, his eyes widening in pure terror. Grizz didn't answer his stammered questions, he just took a step forward. Spike slammed his hand down on the phone when Marcus lunged for it, then grabbed Marcus by the collar and lifted him effortlessly. Grizz knelt beside Eleanor. Grizz said, his voice soft. Are you all right? We got your letter. The dam of her composure broke. A sob of overwhelming relief racked her tiny frame. Spike efficiently neutralized Marcus, using duct tape to bind his hands and feet. Bear and Ripper arrived soon after with the cardboard box from the storage unit. Grizz pressed play on the recorder. Marcus's voice filled the room, raw and vicious. You'll sign the papers or I'll make sure your last days are a living hell. Grizz dialed a reporter he knew, then the police dispatch. They'll be here soon, he told Eleanor. She reached out a trembling hand and laid it on his arm. Thank you. You were my only hope. Grizz felt a fierce sense of honor. This woman had seen a savior in him. Rest now, Eleanor. We'll take it from here. The police and news crews arrived. Marcus was hauled away in handcuffs. Eleanor was taken to the hospital, clutching her journal. The bikers were gone before the first siren faded. Marcus was convicted and sentenced to prison. Eleanor was moved to a safe assisted living facility. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m., for motorcycles pulled into the parking lot. Grizz, Bear, Ripper, and Spike would sit with her, becoming her unlikely family. They became her guardians. Amaya, the waitress, used a gift from Grizz to enroll in social work. She dedicated her life to being a voice for those who couldn't speak. Eleanor Vance lived for 3 more years, the most peaceful of her life. At her funeral, 100 bikers provided a deafening engine salute. Years later, the Serpent's Hand ran a charity, the Eleanor Foundation, to help victims of elder abuse. Grizz would tell new recruits the story of the lavender letter. It was a reminder that their strength was a shield. Heroes don't always wear capes, sometimes they wear leather vests covered in patches. They are the people who see, who listen, and who act.